Good morning, my non-YouTube followers or my YouTube followers. I belong to this website on Facebook about diagnostician questions. And I thought about this will be June 21st, the end of my first official year as a diagnostician. A lot of people have asked a lot of questions about interviews because it's getting ready to be interview time. So here's some things that I thought about from when I was doing my interviews. It may or may not help, but okay, fine. And then I might throw in a few things that might help at the end. Okay, most of the interviews are pretty much standard. They're going to say, tell me about yourself and your experience. So that means anything you can think of related to special education, why you want to work with children, schools you've been to, training you've had, those type of things. They're going to ask you, why did you want to become a diagnostician? In your heart of hearts, think about what was the step that made you want to take the first step to this new detective career. Don't say things like, well, I was in SPED anyway, so I thought this was the next step, or someone told me this was a way to get out of the classroom. It's dumb answers. Then they may ask you a question like, why did you choose so-and-so ISD, or why did you choose this school district? Make sure you've done your research about the district. Make sure you know parent relationships, how their SPED department works, any of the fantastic things you've heard about them, whether it's sports or academics or the way teachers work well with each other, those type of things. They're going to ask you about your testing experience. Well, most of us, like myself, coming out of school with first year diags. My program at the time did not offer a lot of testing kits. So I did not have a lot of WISC, KTEA, KBAC, the WIPC, the Vine. I didn't have a lot of experience with that. We did the Woodcock-Johnson mostly in my program, and I was real familiar with that. But it depends on the district. A lot of districts don't use the Woodcock-Johnson because it's heavily language-based for Brown and African-American children, and they don't like the scoring that it comes out on the cognitive. Now, you will end up finding that you're going to have to use some pieces of some other tests to pull your scoring in, but that's after you get the job. And so make sure you're familiar with the test. Even if you have not used them, make sure that you know what they do, which test you give for what subtest, just in case they ask. Most of my interviews didn't ask me that. Then they're going to ask you, how well do you work with people? How do you work on teams? How do you handle conflict? How do you schedule? How important is scheduling? Because most of us as diagnosticians know that's all we live on is a schedule. Our lives run by a calendar. Then they may ask something like, what happens if a parent wants something special like art or music therapy, art therapy, or something that doesn't ordinarily happen in your building? Those things are district issues, and you can't agree to pay for those right then. You're going to have to say something like, well, if that happened, I would have to speak to my district representative about that, because principals can't even okay that, because those come out of special funds called related services. So at that time, you would really have to check into that and verify, why does the child need that, or why does the parent feel that they need it? Or if they're coming from another district, because they may give you a scenario, if they're coming from another district with all these special services, you know that you're going to duplicate services for the best of your ability for that child. They're going to ask you about timelines, like state timelines, federal timelines, IEP timelines, FIE timelines, notices, proposals, things of that nature. Make sure you know your district's policy, because I walked into a district that is on was on a TEA plan, and so they promised to have everything from start to finish done in 45 days, not with what the law is requiring. They want us to do it earlier. So if you know you can't be put under that type of pressure, Ask about those kind of things when they ask you, do you have any questions? Their district policy on so forth and so on. Because most people follow the state and federal guidelines, but some don't because they may be in trouble with the state. Always know your policy and procedure guide. That guide that you hand out to the parents, you need to know it better than anybody else in that room. Also, when they ask you if you have any questions, you may be going to a district where the DIAG does everything from scheduling arts, evaluations, to notices of the parent, to being the art facilitator, plus running the art, everything. And the teacher only comes in with her information, his or her information. So you need to know those things. Who does what on your campus? So you'll, in this particular situation, so you'll know if this is a district you want to do. If you're responsible for everything and you don't feel you can handle that, even though they say, oh, first-year DIAGs make a lot of mistakes, then know that going in. Who does what? Do you have a clerk that sends out the notices? Do you expect your teachers to send out the notices? Does the DIAG send out the notices? Those are questions you're going to want to ask, because once you take the job and sign the contract, the responsibility is yours. And so don't just let them ask all the questions. Also has small things. I kind of forgot to ask this, like how long are your contracted days? Because right now I work a 207 contract, which means that would have been the days I would have been working summer school anyway. Instead of my 187, that would have been the almost 15 days I would have worked extra for summer school. And they don't do pay. They don't understand pay or how it works. So make sure you have your service records in so you can do your negotiations with human resources. Because some districts will pay you because you, even though the job requires you to have a master's, they will give you master's pay plus a little service pay. So it may bump you up, and they may have a stipend. But those are things you ask for in human resources. Then you also want to know, am I going to be campus-based or am I going to be office-based, or how many campuses or schools, or how heavy is my caseload? Those are small things you want to ask at the end. Don't scare them, because then they'll think that you don't want the job. But you definitely want to make sure that when it comes to scheduling, they understand that scheduling is your top priority, and what's legally possible for this child is the best thing ever that you could do for their district. Then ask them at the end of the interview, is there anything that we did not discuss that you would like to know? And you can clear that up for them. I really, really hope that these few little tidbits from interviews that I've gone on last year helped. And I said it gave me some things to think about for the next interviews that I go on. Things that I did and did not like about working in a particular district. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, my site is below. Leave me questions, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. Bye-bye.